Hi guys, and welcome back. This is Dawn Moret, and I'm still sick. I'm on day 5 of being super sick, and then like I started my period. I just want to lay down and rest. But honestly, in the other room, people are watching Grey's Anatomy, and I can't do it. I can't watch stupid shit on television. So I'd rather just like read to you, even though I'm really nasally, which whatever. Okay, so this is a great chapter. We're going to read about this is means of divination, and this is how to tell fortunes with no previous experience. And so, in addition to telling fortunes, this is also just really awesome basic sociology. And that's what I love about it. It's sociology, and it's like forbidden sociology. Um, so, anyway, let's get into it. Every witch should be able to hold her own when it comes to divination, fortune telling, and popular application of the black arts. Unfortunately, altogether, too much time is spent in studying occultism, and far too little energy is expended in learning the practical side of human behavior. The would be witch who thinks she will become a wonder worker by studying cards or star charts had better spend a bit more time studying people, lest she become a victim of her own folly. In order to know a man well enough to manipulate him, and this could be man or woman, this is just a person, we must be aware of the forces that motivate him, and it becomes increasingly apparent that the psychic sciences have become a formidable motivating force, actually supplanting traditional religions in many instances. Well, this is good. Anything we can do to supplant traditional religions. You'll notice that I treat psychic sciences as a motivating factor in man's behavior. By this, I do not mean to imply that psychic forces are at work impelling man to do their bidding. I do mean, however, that the techniques of individual divinatory arts are but misdirection devices for the competent witch to use as she sees fit. And this is what all healers, teachers, witches, warlocks, magicians, this is what everyone does in order to create a space of healing, a space of transformation. It's all magic, and it's all kind of a big bluff, but it doesn't matter because it works. It works and it's wonderful, so it doesn't matter that it's a bluff. Bring on the bluffing, right? If it's healing, then it's awesome. Okay, but it's good to know. It's good to know when you're bluffing. Okay, let's start with the most popular of the means of divination, astrology. Why astrology? What has ensured its popularity? It loses its continuity when any attempt is made to correlate its findings to the synthesizer, which seems to fit everything in the apparent demonic core range of personalities into perfect position, however subtle the gradation might be. Our astrologers will argue that their art is not, nor was it ever intended to type human beings, but merely to relate events to the movements of heavenly bodies. My answer to this is that people make events, and if the solar system doesn't have any bearing on people's activities, then a lot of astrology magazines are sold under false pretenses to millions of people who believe, to a greater or lesser degree, what they read. Before one even attempts to understand astrology, or any of the occult arts, he should ask himself why. Usually the answer will be, because I want to learn what others have not learned. Next, it is automatically assumed that to learn what others do not fully know, one must study that which is not fully known, or at least that which is shrouded in mystery. This is a really, really important point, because we all seek out secret information, right? We're looking for the obscure, especially if we're on like a spiritual path or a mysticism path, right? We're looking for things that have been hidden, and we're all fascinated by hidden things. This is the law of the forbidden. So it's very natural to imagine that there's secret beliefs and secret societies and secret things that if we just found out, we'd be better off, right? Okay. Again, the law of the forbidden is seen in action. The assumption is always that if there's anything important to be discovered, it will require a long, hard, esoteric search. Actually, all great discoveries are made when they are practically tripped over. stumbled upon and accidentally uncovered. Despite all the physical evidence of the usual non-esoteric means of discovery in the mundane sphere of our existence, seekers after magical and occult discoveries persist in refusing to overturn the rock which lies at their very feet to observe what might hide underneath. It's too simple, and the mania for the forbidden will not allow it. The greatest mistake any witch can make is to think that to accept and practice the force known as magic, it will be necessary to study great amounts of occult literature. The reason so few competent magicians exist is because most persons who seek magical wisdom approach it from an occultist point of view. The main reason for this is because what is forbidden is always more fun, and the unknown is about as forbidden as you can get, or it wouldn't be unknown. Anyone can crack a book about the history of Rome, how to make fireworks, flower arrangements, human anatomy, the effect of music in Russian nationalism, or why people commit suicide. What the hell does it matter why people commit suicide or how people behave in nudist camps, thinks the would-be witch or warlock. That kind of book isn't going to tell me anything I want to know about casting spells. The simple facts of the matter are that such study material is too easily accessible, too mundane, too close to home, and therefore it is not only uninteresting, but also assumed to be worthless from the magical point of view. There are some subjects that have validity, which are pursued by occult scholars, but unfortunately precious few. One example is handwriting analysis. If, however, many handwriting analysts would discard the occult scientists as a supplement to graphology, they would be far more capable. Instead of learning the fine points of astrology, numerology, palmistry, etc., thinking them to be a worthwhile extension of graphology, it is far wiser to move in the other direction, away from the esoteric ramblings. Now, I want to remind you guys that this book is called The Satanic Witch by Anton LaVey, the father of the California Church of Satan. So, and he's saying, basically, we need to move in the other direction from esoteric ramblings, okay? So Satanism is not actually a thing, and everyone needs to get off of it. It's a series of reactions set up to Abrahamic religions. It doesn't mean diddly squat, okay? I can say Hail Satan all day. It doesn't mean anything because I'm not religious. Like, there's no charge about Satan because I don't believe in Satan because I don't believe in Abrahamic religions, period. So I'm in it for the sociology, purely. And of course there is magic to be found, there's energy to be found. But no one's got some sort of like patent on the energy. No one's got any sort of hold on the energy. No one has the magic formula for something that we couldn't figure out ourselves, right? With work and meditation. Okay, back to this. Well, a study of the stars and their relation to human affairs is about as esoteric as you can get. So a great many people feel that that's an ideal place to start. But why not start at man and work outward, utilizing what we know best as a basis? The astrologer studies far-removed heavenly bodies, then attempts to correlate human activities, behavior, and physical appearance with the distant planets. Why not start with man, the best known and most readily observable phenomena? Man is the only thing in our known universe with which we can irrevocably identify ourselves. Therefore, it is not correct to assume that all evaluation of personality types and behavior must evolve from a study of man himself. We do not know how other things in our solar system feel. We know how man feels, but do we want to admit to feelings? I say we do not, so we exteriorize them at every opportunity, even insofar as our studies of ourselves are concerned, as witness astrology. Instead of typing the known universe using ourselves as a base of operations, with gradations carefully selected, we seek to discover the nature of ourselves through distant examples. Can man really ever know himself? I say yes, but first he must study himself and others of his species. And even before he studies himself, he must start small. He must study animals that walk on all fours, then graduate to the parallels he can find in himself. This is why I have based so much on our synthesizer, because it measures man and his predilections, and once the subject is known well, the bigger things start snapping into focus. Sometimes these revelations appear frighteningly, other times joyously, but at all times accompanied by a unique thrill that comes with discovery. And we do, when we learn new things or when we observe things or observe phenomena, we get dopamine hits to the brain. So it's incredibly pleasurable to learn new things, and that's why we're constantly looking for hidden esoteric knowledge so we can get those really big rushes of dopamine. Totally natural that we're looking for forbidden knowledge. But the fact is, we can find out all we need to know really by just observing nature and ourselves. Period. Anyway, when one considers these reasons, it becomes easy to understand why astrology has become the most popular of divinatory sciences. Of course, a wise witch believes in astrology because she knows that almost everyone else does. If enough people believe in something, then the successful manipulator will find a way to capitalize on such a belief. Like it or not, that's the way it is. If the competent witch knows where the stars will supposedly lead a person, she can be waiting first in line. Belief in astrology on the part of others is one of the best magical weapons upon which a witch can rely. Even the most skeptical will enjoy and emotionally accept what astrology has to tell them, because anything concerning oneself is always more interesting to hear about than anything else. Let me say that one more time. Even the most skeptical will enjoy and emotionally accept what astrology has to tell them, because anything concerning oneself is always more interesting to hear about than anything else. This is the trick. This is what we engage with when we're dealing with other people. We find ways in which to make a mirror to them. And it's the most fascinating. Everyone's fascinated by themselves, by their physicality, by their emotionality, by every aspect of themselves. We're all totally fascinated by ourselves. This is just a rule, a spiritual law. Okay. Instead of telling you all about the methods of using astrology, I'll tell you why you should employ it. There are numerous books available on the subject, as simple or as intricate as you wish in their teachings. If you learn to cast horoscopes, thereby assuming the role of astrological seer, you will find yourself able to set up and arrange self-fulfilling prophecies with a remarkable degree of certainty. The stars may affect no one at all, but astrology affects everyone. Here are a few reasons why. It is based on a scientific principle. The solar systems, mathematics, time, biology, endocrinology, and who knows what are all incorporated into astrology. 2. It is this consistent, available shot in the arm for the ego. 3. It is esoteric. It is easy enough in its daily horoscope fashion for anyone even of the simplest mind to understand, yet it will allow those who wish to go deeper into its theology the opportunity for endless study. Number 4, it is a socially acceptable conversation piece, which will allow gossip a fertile playground in that it permits people to talk about others in an analytical way under the guise of studying them astrologically. This is done in much the same way as some psychologists, social workers, marriage counselors, sexologists, etc. will study their clients or patients, secretly for prurient rather than clinical reasons, except the astrology buff needs no credentials to do the same thing. Neither does a bartender, but then he does not claim knowledge of an esoteric nature. 5. It is a much more scintillating conversation opener and sustainer than any other popular religion, as it is ego-based. One will find very few listeners at a social gathering. If he approaches the person he wishes to meet with, "What have you done lately to please Jesus?" Or, "Where were you baptized?" On the other hand, "Under what sign were you born?" Or, "You must be a Scorpio," is almost sure to elicit a reply. It is safe in that it is compatible with other religions. One can go to church on Sunday after reading his daily horoscope without fear of even a gentle roasting. 7. It allows man more freedom. It allows man freedom from having to make his own decisions. It has been said by almost all astrologers that the stars impel rather than compel. This means that unlike other gods of other religions, there is no inflexible, whip-cracking, stern-faced Jehovah, but rather a benign guidance from a solar system that allows for human modification by those who are aware. Certainly a much more easygoing way of having something or someone else make decisions for you and guide your destiny. It is flexible in its application. There are no absolutes. Its ambiguity makes it difficult to totally discredit its message. The findings of one astrologer can always be contradicted by another. the second astrologer taking other factors in consideration that the first one missed. It has been around long enough to emboss itself on the collective unconscious so that even if we could ignore it, some of our forebears most likely could not. 10. It can gain substance by pointing at the moon and its obvious influence and announcing that if the moon can influence the tides, behavior, etc., then so can planets, stars, etc. Likewise, influence earthly situations. This is a very successful trick used by stage magicians. If one sword can be thrust through a previously inspected object which rests within a cabinet, and afterwards the object is removed and shown to have been speared through by the sword, it is then thereby assumed that by the audience that the pretty girl who gets into the cabinet will be thoroughly impaled by the succession of numerous swords in addition to the first one. We must not forget that at one time it was proclaimed that the moon contained lunar armies, strange ships sailing on lunar seas, and even was made of green cheese, while the same experts also knew the subtle influences of distant planets upon the Earth. Number 11, it can appear valid in that most people do act the way their astrological signs imply they must. It is a fine case of the tail wagging the dogma, the planets having nothing to do except provide a rationale for the dogma of astrology, the dogma acting as the controlling factor, not the stars. So, my favorite part of that is really more about the sociology. Now, I enjoy astrology. I listen to my astrology literally every day, and probably the reason why I do it is because I love to hear someone tell me about more and more about me. And we all do that. This is something that is totally part of human nature. It's totally natural. But it's good to recognize it. Anyway, so that was how to tell a fortune with no previous experience. And there's more chapters. I'm going to read this whole book to you guys over time. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed and have a great night.